Welcome to Indian Movie Recaps. Today I will show you an action film released in 2011 called Singham. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The story of Singham begins with an introduction to Bajirao Singham, played by Ajay Devgan, a strong and righteous police officer. The scene opens in a serene village setting where Singham is seen bathing in a temple pond. As he steps out of the water, his well-built physique catches the eye, symbolizing his strength and integrity. People don't salute him merely because he's a police officer. They do so out of deep respect for his honesty and principles. One morning, when Singham arrives at the police station, he notices Mahendra, a local man, standing there in a terrible state. A wealthy businessman seated nearby accuses Mahendra of taking money and not returning it. Mahendra explains to Singham that he spent all the money on his sister's wedding and promised to repay it within 3 months. However, the businessman's men brutally beat him throughout the night. Singham, noticing the bruises on Mahendra's face, suddenly strikes the businessman with a resounding slap. He then speaks to his parents, emphasizing the importance of maintaining honor, explaining that if Mahendra is taken to court, it could ruin his sister's marriage, bringing disgrace to the family and village. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Singham takes money from his own home and gives it to Mahendra to repay the businessman. Singham ensures both parties understand that any future financial dealings should be transparent and fair, leaving the businessman astonished at Singham's fairness and resolve. Mounting his bullet motorcycle in his signature style, Singham rides away, exuding confidence and authority. Meanwhile, Singham's uncle, who resides in Goa, visits the village. His uncle's daughter, Kavya, Kajal Agarwal, also comes along, and soon, sparks fly between Singham and Kavya, leading to a budding romance. As the narrative progresses, a new character is introduced, Shiva, a notorious gangster. Shiva makes a ransom call to a wealthy man demanding 10 crore rupees as ransom to release his kidnapped son. The terrified father tries to contact his son, but one of Shiva's henchmen answers the phone instead. Desperate father calls Shiva again, offering 25 lakhs instead. At this point, Jaikant Shikra, the ruthless crime lord, played by Prakash Raj, takes over the call. He coldly reminds the father about the recent kidnappings where many victims were killed, suggesting the father decide whether he values his money or his son's life more. Jaikant's chilling words underline his brutal nature. He is a man who has killed even children with his own hands for money. Eventually, the father succumbs to the pressure and arranges the full ransom amount, after which Jaikant releases his son unharmed. The movie then shifts focus to Inspector Rakesh Kadam, a police officer whose name is dragged through the mud in the media. News reports allege that Rakesh is corrupt and was caught red-handed with illicit money, leading to public outrage and disgrace. At home, his wife tries to console him, assuring him that everything will be all right, but Rakesh knows better. He tells her he has to go to the police station to handle some urgent work. At the station, his junior officers who know Rakesh is an honest cop were watching the news in silence, feeling helpless as their entire police force was being discredited because of the false accusations against him. Rakesh sits in his office reminiscing about the events that led to his downfall. In reality, it was Shiva who had tried to bribe Rakesh, but the upright officer had thrown him out by the collar. In retaliation, when Rakesh was out on duty one day, members of the special branch planted a large sum of money in his car. His superiors, seeing this, immediately suspended him, declaring him a disgrace to the entire Goa police force. Overwhelmed by the injustice, Rakesh calls his wife and tells her that he will not let her or their son Nitin suffer this mental torment any longer. She tries to reassure him, affirming his innocence, but Rakesh asks her to explain the situation to Nitin and let him know that his father was an honest officer. As despair consumes him, Rakesh closes his eyes and shoots himself in the head, haunted by memories of the humiliation from his superiors and thoughts of his 5-year-old son. When his wife arrives at the police station, she is denied even a last look at her husband's face. The media surrounds her, but she bravely faces them, declaring that her husband was a man of integrity and that his death was not a suicide but murder, holding Jaikant Shikra responsible. This is how the movie introduces Jaikant Shikra, a man of power and cruelty. The news reporters approached Jaikant, who coldly stated that Inspector Rakesh Kadam was a corrupt officer who couldn't live with his guilt and thus took his own life. He dismisses the accusations from Rakesh's wife as an attempt to salvage her husband's honor. However, in a dramatic moment, Rakesh's wife appears and vows that Jaikant will be punished for his sins, and a higher power will serve justice. Now we see that Jaikant visits the funeral of a man, and after looking at the deceased's photo, remarks that he was a good man. However, the man's father accuses Jaikant of killing his son. Jaikant coldly responds that his son refused to comply with his demands, so he had no choice but to kill him. Jaikant sternly warns the old man, "Never hurt Jaikant Shikra's ego, no matter what. Now sign the papers and transfer the land to my name, or your family will be finished." He threatens the old man, pointing out that his truck is waiting outside ready to act if the papers aren't signed. Out of fear, the father signs over the land to Jaikant, who has taken control of countless properties in this ruthless manner. As Jaikant exits, he meets the DSP, who informs him that his arrest warrant won't be issued and that he has been granted bail in the murder case. However, the DSP adds that Jaikant must report to the Shivgar police station for the next 15 days to sign in. Shivgar is where Inspector Bajirao Singham is stationed, and now the story is about to take an interesting turn. Two men arrive at the police station on behalf of Jaikant, with one of them falsely claiming to be Jaikant. However, they fail to even know the name of Jaikant's mother, leading to one of them getting slapped. Their boss then steps in explaining that Jaikant is currently busy, which is why these two have come in his place. Hearing this, Singham kicks the chair and warns them that he wants Jaikant here within 4 hours, or a warrant will be issued in his name, and that dog will be in jail. Jaikant, furious, arrives with his entire entourage, and by now the villagers are aware that something significant is about to happen. He enters the police station and kicks the chair, but since Singham isn't there, he has to wait. After a long wait, Singham finally arrives and completely ignores Jaikant, showing him no respect. Jaikant, enraged, warns Singham that he doesn't know who Jaikant is, and that he'll make Singham's life a living hell. Just then, the villagers arrive with weapons and ask Singham if there is any problem. Singham calmly replies, "No problem at all, just a petty thug." Hearing this, Jaikant gets even angrier and starts threatening Singham. The villagers, overhearing Jaikant's threats, begin smashing his vehicles. Jaikant steps outside and accuses Singham of trying to intimidate him by gathering his people. In response, a young man drives a metal rod into one of Jaikant's cars, threatening to do the same to Jaikant's chest if he does anything to Singham. Singham then tells Jaikant, "If you even lay a hand on me, these people will tear you apart. This is my village, and I am the Jaikant Shikra here." Singham then grabbed Jaikant's hand and took his thumb impression on the record. Singham instructs him to come back here to sign every day for the next 14 days. Jaikant leaves the station without a word. A few days later, Singham is transferred to a police station in Goa. Upon arriving, he witnesses blatant bribery happening in broad daylight. Seeing him, all the officers warmly welcome him. Soon, Jaikant barges into Singham's room with his goons and says, "You didn't come here because of your transfer. You're here because I wanted you to be, and the police are in my pocket. Now before you die, you'll die 1,000 times." Singham asks his juniors about Inspector Rakesh, and they reveal that he was an honest officer. Mega recounts the injustice done to him. When Singham discusses this with the DGP, he responds by saying that Inspector Kadam was caught red-handed with money, and the police operate by the law, not against it. That night, goons throw stones at Singham's window, followed by a call from Jaikant saying, "Welcome to Goa, Singham." Next night, Singham waits for the goons. As they arrive, he chases them, but a truck suddenly appears, nearly killing him. Jaikant calls once more, "Welcome to Goa, Singham." The next morning, Singham is assigned to guard a politician's office. When the minister steps out, Singham salutes him. Jaikant, standing beside the minister, mocks Singham, saying, "The hand that made me sign is now saluting me. Take care of it. One day you might use it to shoot yourself." Singham is later assigned to night duty. At a checkpoint, a man causes trouble claiming to be Jaikant's man. Hearing this, Singham drags him out and beats him and brings him to the station. Shortly after, the DSP arrives and orders to release them. When Singham protests, the DSP reminds him that he is senior. Singham watches as they leave without consequence. In the next scene, Singham approaches the minister for support, but the minister coldly tells Singham to just do his duty and to not mess with Jaikant. Frustrated, Singham meets Kavya and tells her that he is going to resign and return to the village. Kavya responds that if he goes back, then what will he say when people ask why he came back? That he gave up? Angered by Kavya's words, Singham is suddenly provoked by Jaikant's goons, who throw a bottle between them. Neetan tells Singham that if he leaves, then these people will kill his mother too. Infuriated, Singham breaks a light pole and locks the steering wheel of their car, causing the goons to crash into the sea. Singham first beats up the goons and then gathers them in one place to continue the thrashing. He brings them to the station and orders his juniors to file an FIR. A constable laughs and says, "What will an FIR do? Your honesty will fade in 2 days." The constable adds, "I'm just 6 months away from retirement, but I'm with you for these 180 days. Let's see what you can do." Singham calls the media to report that the goons were caught with illegal liquor. As usual, the DSP arrives and orders their release. This time, Singham asks the DSP to give the order in writing. The DSP gets irritated and says, "I oversee 10 stations." Singham replies, "I only have this one station, and if anyone interferes, I'll break their legs." In the next scene, Jaikant is preparing for an election when Singham arrives and says, "You must have seen a lion on TV, but never in the jungle hunting." Jaikant threatens him that he can get him dismissed in 10 minutes. We then see preparations for Kavya's birthday. When Singham visits her home, her father gets a call from Jaikant saying he has kidnapped their daughter, Anjali. He demands money and insists that her boyfriend Singham must not find out. Seeing his distress, Singham stops him and insists on telling him everything. He then advises them to follow Jaikant's instructions. He drives to the specified location and opens the car trunk. Jaikant's goons grab the money and leave. Singham waits nearby, watching Anjali reunite with her father. As the black car speeds away, The police open fire, but the car escapes after ramming through obstacles. Singham chases them down and eventually catches one of them. However, he revealed nothing during interrogation and was released. He goes straight to Shiva, claiming he told nothing to the police. Shiva, surprised, is about to inform Jaikant when he sees Singham and his entire force standing before him. It turns out this was Singham's plan to reach Shiva. The minister then calls Singham and his team, praising their efforts and promoting Singham to chief of the police training department. Singham, however, confronts the minister that he is trying to remove him from the case to protect Jaikant. The minister gets angry and tells Singham that he has no evidence and he can't touch Jaikant. Singham slaps the minister several times, asking, "No evidence means the guilty are innocent?" The minister threatens to have Singham suspended, but the other officers deny any wrongdoing, saying, "Singham didn't even touch you." The minister warns them about the power of his position, but Singham locks the door and, along with the other officers, roughs him up. In the next scene, Singham and Kavya's engagement is finalized, and everyone is happy. When Singham returns to the police station, he sees a crowd in cars because Jaikant has won the election and is set to take the oath the next day. Jaikant hands Singham his transfer order, saying that in 24 hours he will be transferred back to his village. Jaikant advised Singham that traveling is not safe these days, and many people died on the way. Singham's junior informs him that Shiva has confessed to running all illegal activities, making it difficult to bring down Jaikant. When Singham sees Shiva laughing in the lockup, he pulls him out and beats him. Shiva taunts him, saying, "You have 24 hours, you can't do anything. Once he's a minister, Jaikant will free me in 2 days." Later, Singham sits with a constable who laments their thankless job with no holidays and low pay. He advises Singham to return to his village. Singham then takes Inspector Kadam's widow and child to a police gathering. There he confronts the DGP, stating, "That thug Shiva said we police officers are powerless. Jaikant handed me a transfer order and I couldn't do anything." The DGP admits he tried, but says, "The system runs the department, not the other way around." Singham challenges DGP to look into Nitin's eye and tell him that his father was wrong. Further, he challenged other officers that whether they can look to their families and say that they are doing the right thing. Singham then announces that he will fight alone and leaves the gathering. While sitting by the seashore with Kavya, the entire police force led by the DGP arrives. The DGP tells Singham that he told that child that his father was right and that for the next 24 hours, this department will do what it should. In the next scene, Jaikant is dreaming about taking the oath as a minister when the DSP wakes him up, warning him that Singham is plotting to kill him. He offers to take Jaikant to a safe place. As they stepped outside the room, the entire police force was waiting. Jaikant assumes they're there to protect him and confidently says, "Call Singham." Singham steps out from behind. He tells Jaikant that elders say that it's neither good to befriend nor make an enemy of the police. The DSP adds, "No matter how much a man strays, he always returns home. And as a policeman, I'll stand by my fellow officers." Jaikant becomes visibly agitated. When even the DGP doesn't support him, he arrogantly claims that they can't harm me, as he is taking the oath tomorrow, and no minister ever gets punished. The officers suggest ways to kill him, to which Jaikant retorts that he is not a goat to be slaughtered and discarded. Realizing he's going to be killed, Jaikant begins to cry, accusing Singham of cheating by bringing the entire police force against him. He suddenly grabs a gun and escapes. The police chase him as he hides in a phone booth and calls the police helpline, begging for protection, but the helpline informs Singham of Jaikant's location, forcing Jaikant to flee again. Desperate, he seeks help from an old man who turns out to be the one whose land Jaikant had grabbed and whose son he had killed. Jaikant has to run once more with no help. Eventually, the police corner him and Singham approaches. Jaikant, realizing his end is near, is struck by Singham, who knocks him down. The officers take Jaikant to the station, seating him in the same chair where Inspector Kadam had shot himself. Jaikant remembers Kadam, and Singham recalls his oath. Singham points a gun at Jaikant. Now the scene shifts and we see that policemen are pointing guns at Shiva's head, warning him to change his statement or face death. The scene then shifts to the press conference where the DGP announces that Shiva has confessed to running illegal businesses under Jaikant's protection, and that Jaikant was responsible for Inspector Kadam's death. The DGP claims that, overwhelmed by shame, Jaikant shot himself before the police could arrest him. In reality, the police had placed Jaikant's body in his home and staged the suicide. The DGP clears Inspector Kadam's name, declaring him an honest officer and requesting the court to drop all charges against him. Kadam's wife and son, finally at peace, stand there, visibly relieved. That's the end of the movie on a triumphant note. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more recaps. Thanks for watching and take care.